What's up, you friggin' geniuses? So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to add and subtract rational expressions that have different denominators, okay, or unlike denominators. And this is going to be a little longer video, so if you got to go get a drink, take a dump, do whatever you got to do to clear your body, mind, and soul, go ahead and do that, because otherwise we're just going to jump straight into this. Okay, so here's our first example. So we have 5 over x plus 3 over y, all right? So in order to add these two together, they have to first have the same denominator, right? Which in this case, they obviously don't. So one thing we can do here is just kind of cross multiply the denominators, right? So here I have an x, so I'm going to multiply by an x on the top and on the bottom. And then here I have a y, so I'm going to multiply by y on the top and the bottom. Okay, so now we can simplify this, right? So first of all, here on top, we're going to have y times 5, which is 5y. And that's going to go over y times x. So we can just write that as xy. And then again, we're adding here, right? So plus. And then here on top, we have 3 times x. So we'll write that as 3x. And that's going to go over these two right here, y and x, which again, we can just write as xy. Okay, so now you can see we have the same denominator, right? So when we add these together, again, just like normal fractions, right? We have an xy here and xy here, so just put the xy at the bottom, okay? And then on top, again, we're just gonna add straight across. So 5y plus 3x, that's as simplified as we can put it, right? We can't really combine that anymore. So we would just write 5y plus 3x, right? So then this right here would be your answer, right? Let's try another one. Okay, so now let's do a subtraction problem. So here we have 8 over 2x minus 15 over 3y, all right? So again, we have different denominators, so one way we can fix that, again, is just by cross multiplying, right? So we're gonna multiply by 2x on the top and the bottom over here, and then we'll take this one to this side, right? Multiply by 3y on the top and the bottom over here, right? So then if we simplify some things, this is going to be equal to, on top, here we have 3y times 8. So 3 times 8, that's equal to 24. So we're going to have 24 times y, or essentially just 24y. And then that's going to be over, let's see, 3 times 2, that's equal to 6. And then we just have an x and a y, right? So we're going to have 6xy. And then in this case, we're subtracting, right? So minus. Then here, 15 times 2x is going to be 30x, right? 30x, and that's going to go over. Same thing, 3y times 2x is equal to 6xy, right? 6xy, all right? So as you can see, now we have the same denominator, right? So we can simplify this. So we have a 6xy in the denominator, right? So that's what we're going to have here, 6xy. And then on top, I know we're subtracting, but it works the same way as adding, okay? You just subtract straight across. So we're going to have 24y minus 30x. 24y minus 30x, okay? Now, the last thing, again, that we have to do here is just simplify this or reduce it, okay? And we have to do that by factoring, right? So let's bring it down here. 24y minus 30x over 6xy. Okay, so from the top over here, as you can see, both of these numbers are divisible by 6. So I can essentially just factor out a 6. Okay, so if I factor out a 6, or same thing as dividing by 6, what's left right here? Well, 24 divided by 6, that's equal to 4, and we still have the y, right? And then here, negative 30 divided by 6 would be negative 5, so minus 5, and we still have our x, right? And then on the bottom, we have 6xy, right? 6xy. Okay, now you can see that we have a 6 on the top and on the bottom, right? So those kill each other. All right, so then what's left here? Well, we're just going to have 4y minus 5x on top, right? 4y minus 5x on top. And on the bottom, we just have xy. xy, right? So then that would be your answer. So hopefully these haven't been too bad. So now we're just going to do some that are a little bit more complicated. Okay, so here we have 3 over x minus 3 plus 2 over x minus 2. Okay, so again, you can see we have different denominators, right? So we have an x minus 3 over here and an x minus 2 over here. So again, we have to cross multiply the denominators, right? So here we have an x minus 3, so we're going to multiply by x minus 3 on the top and on the bottom, right? And then here we have x minus 2, so multiply by x minus 2 on the top and on the bottom. Okay, so now if we simplify these, well, on top over here, all you have to do is distribute. Okay, so this 3, you're going to distribute it into the x and to the negative 2. And then on this side, same thing, you're going to take the 2 and distribute it to the x and to the negative 3. Okay, so first of all, on this side right here, 3 times x, that's equal to 3x, right? So on top, we're going to have 3x. And then 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, right? So minus 6. Okay, and then that's going to go over our denominator over here, x minus 2 times x minus 3, right? And you're going to leave it like that. Just write it as x minus 2, x minus 3. Okay, don't FOIL these. Don't multiply them together. Just leave them like this. Okay, and the reason for that is because we might be able to cancel one of these out, right? So that's why we want to just kind of leave it basic like this right now, okay? Now we're going to add this, right? We're adding this to this one right here. So on top, we're going to distribute the 2 into the x minus 3. So 2 times x, that's equal to 2x. And 2 times negative 3 is equal to negative 6, right? So minus 6. And then that's going to go over, same thing, x minus 2 times x minus 3, right? So x minus 2 times x minus 3. All right, cool. So as you can see, now we have the same denominators, right? X minus 2, x minus 3, x minus 2 times x minus 3, right? So if we're adding these two together, just keep the same denominator, right? So on the bottom, we're just going to have x minus 2, x minus 3. And on top, we're just adding straight across, right? So we're going to have 3x minus 6 plus 2x minus 6 plus 2x minus 6. Okay, and we can simplify this a little bit more on top, right? Because we have 3x plus 2x, so that's equal to 5x. And then here we have negative 6 minus 6, which is equal to negative 12, right? So minus 12. And then on the bottom, we still have our x minus 2, x minus 3. Okay, now the bottom is already as factored as much as possible, right? And the top, we can't factor that or simplify that anymore. So this would actually be your final answer, right? So now we're going to do just a couple more problems, but they're going to have 3 terms instead of 2, like in this one. All right, so here we have 1 over AB plus 1 over BC. Okay, so again, you can see that we have different denominators, right? But you can also see our denominators here have something in common, right? They both have a b. Okay, so that means here, since they already have something in common, doing the cross multiplication would not, it would work, but it would make us end up doing a lot of extra work. So something that we can do instead is just realizing, okay, I have an a and a b on this side. So the only thing that's missing on this side, that's on this side, is this c right here. Okay, so let's just multiply by this c on the top, or on the bottom, and on the top. Okay, now on this side, I have a b and I have a c, right? So the only thing that's missing on this side, that's on this side, is the a, right? So let's just multiply by an a on the bottom and the top. Okay, and when we do that, you can see we have the same denominators, right? We have ABC, ABC. Okay, so if we were to simplify this a little bit more, on top 1 times c, that's equal to c. So we'd have c over, again, ABC. And then we're going to add that to a times 1, which would just be a. And again, that's going to be over ABC, right? ABC. So then if you add these together, got ABC, ABC on the bottom, so just keep the ABC. And on top, we'd have c plus a, and we would just leave it like that, c plus a. Okay, so that'd be your final answer right there. But the main point I want you to get from this example is this right here. Okay, so instead of the cross multiplying the denominators, just multiply by whatever's missing. Okay, so again, we already had an a and a b on this side, so the only thing that was missing from this side that's over here was this c, right? So that's why we just multiplied by c on the bottom and the top. And then same thing here, we already had a b and a c, so the only thing missing from this side that's on this side is this a, right? So then let's bring the a over and multiply it right there and on the top. Okay, so now let's just do a couple examples where understanding this idea right here is going to be really, really helpful. All right, here's our next example. So as you can see, the denominators definitely do not match, and the cross multiplying of the denominators, that would work, but in this case it would take forever. So whenever you have something like this where you have a bunch of terms and everything, your best bet is to just factor those, okay? So that's what we're going to do first. So let's factor the left side over here first. So 2ab plus b squared. So I'm just going to write it underneath it. So we're going to have 2a over, and now here we can factor out a b, right? And then inside the parentheses, we're just going to be left with 2a plus b, okay? And then we're going to add that, and we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to factor the bottom. So we're going to have 3a over. Now this right here is a difference of squares, right? You can tell because both of these are perfect squares, right? So in order to factor this, there's a simple way, which in case you're not familiar with it, I'll link a video to that in the card above. But basically all you do is take the square root of each of these right here. Okay, so the square root of 4a squared would be 2a, right? Because the square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of a squared is just a. And then here, the square root of b squared is just b, all right? So then in order to factor this, the easy way, it would just be 2a plus b and 2a minus b. Okay, so now we can see what the factors are, right? So here the factors are b and 2a plus b, and over here we have 2a plus b and 2a minus b. And I'm gonna move this to the side a little bit, make some room. Okay, so we basically have three different factors down here, right? So we have a b, so that's number one. Number two would be this 2a plus b, which we have in both of these, okay? Those are number two. And then the third one would be this one right here, 2a minus b, right? So it's almost like fill in the blank, right? So the one that's missing is obviously this one right here, 2a minus b. So we're gonna multiply the bottom by 2a minus b and the top by 2a minus b, okay? And then same thing over here, just fill in the blank, right? So then we could see that this b is not over here, so that's the only one that we would have to multiply on this side, and multiply it on the bottom and on the top, right? Okay, and now you can see we have the same denominators in both sides, right? We have b times 2a plus b, 2a minus b, and same thing over here, b times 2a plus b times 2a minus b, all right? So now that we have essentially the same denominators, now we can start simplifying this thing, all right? So first of all, let's simplify this part, this numerator right here. So again, we just have to distribute, okay? So 2a times 2a, that's equal to 4a squared. And then 2a times negative b is equal to negative 2ab. So we're going to have minus 2ab on top. And we're going to have to extend that a little bit. And then our denominator, again, is this right here. So b times 2a plus b, 2a minus b. Okay? And now we're adding, right? We're adding it to this fraction right here. So on top we have 3a times b, which is just 3ab. So we can write it like that, 3ab. And then on the bottom, again, we just have this, we have all the same denominators now, right? So b times 2a plus b and 2a minus b. Okay, cool. So now that we have, again, we have the exact same denominators, now we can add these, right, just straight across, right? So then this whole thing is going to be equal to, again, let's just fill in our denominator since we know what that is. So again, it's b times 2a plus b times 2a minus b. And then on top, adding straight across, we're going to have 4a squared minus 2ab plus, right, plus 3ab, plus 3ab. Okay, and now there's actually something we can simplify right here. Okay, so negative 2ab plus 3ab is equal to 1ab, right? And 1ab, we don't actually have to write this leading coefficient, the 1 right there, so we could just write it as ab, right? So this part right here, negative 2ab plus 3ab is going to simplify to just ab. All right, so let's write that really quick. So we're going to have 4a squared plus, right, because this is positive ab, so we're going to have plus ab, and again, that's going to go over our denominator right here. Write it in, plus b, and 2a minus b. Okay, now one last thing we can do here to simplify the top a little bit more is factor out an a from both of these terms. So let's do that. So we're going to factor out an a. So then on top, we're going to be left with 4a plus b. Okay, and then in the denominator, again, we still have the b times 2a plus b times 2a minus b. Okay, so we factored the top and the bottom as much as possible. And there's nothing we can cancel out, right? Because we don't have any common factors on the top and the bottom, right? So then this would be your final answer right there. All right, let's try one last example. All right, here's the last example, and it's going to be a subtraction one. Okay, so the first thing I like to do whenever we're subtracting is distribute this negative sign or this subtraction sign into the top over here, okay? Because when you do that, it's going to turn it into a plus sign. So you don't have to deal with this minus sign down the road, right? So let's just get rid of it right off the bat. So if you distribute this negative sign into the top over here, it's going to change the sign of all your terms, right? So it's going to turn the n into negative n and this plus 3 into negative 3. So let's just write that really quick. So we'll write that one first. Negative 3n minus 9 over n squared plus n minus 6. And then when we distribute this minus sign, it's going to turn into a plus sign. Okay, so it's going to turn into a plus sign. And then again, just change all the signs on the top right there. So it's going to turn into negative n minus 3, right? And then that's over 2 minus n. 2 minus n. All right, cool. So we got rid of the minus sign right off the bat, okay? Now we're going to solve these like the rest of the problems, okay? So our denominators, they're obviously completely different, so we have to factor them and see what factors we find towards the end, okay? So let's do that next. So let's factor the bottom right here. So n squared plus n minus 6. So then this is going to be equal to the numerator right there, negative 3n minus 9. And then if we factor the bottom right here, n squared, we can break up into n times n, right? And then the two numbers right here, just look at your last number right here, negative 6. What numbers multiply together to get negative 6? Well, and it also has to add up to positive 1 right there, right? So in this case, it would be a positive 3 and a negative 2. Okay, so positive 3, negative 2. So that's what goes in the denominator here where we factored it, right? N plus 3, n minus 2. Okay, and then we're adding this other one, right? So plus negative n minus 3 on top over 2 minus n. Okay, so now something you might notice is that this n minus 2, it looks very similar to this 2 minus n, okay? They're not the exact same thing, but it's very similar. Okay, so one thing that we can do to match those up, let's just rewrite this one really quick. So we have negative 3n minus 9 on top, and on the bottom we have n plus 3, n minus 2, okay? And then we're gonna add it to this one over here, right? But something we can do to basically flip these, okay, to get the n on this side and the minus 2 on that side is just multiply the whole bottom by negative 1 and the whole top by negative 1, okay? So we're gonna multiply the top, again, negative n minus 3, so we're gonna multiply that whole thing by negative 1, and we're gonna do the same thing with the bottom, the 2 minus n, we're gonna multiply that by negative 1, okay? So all you do is essentially distribute it. So first of all, let's bring this over. So again, negative 3 minus 9 over n plus 3, n minus 2, right? And then we're adding this one right here that we're about to change. Okay, so all you really have to do is distribute the negative 1 inside of the parentheses, right? So first of all, negative 1 times negative n, that's going to be positive n. And here, -1 times -3 is +3, right? So plus 3. And that's going to go over the bottom over here. So -1 times 2 is -2. And -1 times -n is +n, right? So plus n. Okay, so now that we're adding right here, now we can flip it, okay? Before, like up here when it was subtraction, you can't just flip it because order matters with subtraction, but with addition, order doesn't matter, okay? So we can flip these now. So I'm gonna put the positive n at the beginning and I'm gonna put the -2 at the end. So now I'm gonna write it as n minus 2. Okay, cool. So now the next thing we have to do in order to add these two fractions together is they have to have the same denominator, right? So we have an n minus 2 here and an n minus 2 here, and we have an n minus 3 here, or sorry, n plus 3 here, but we don't have it over here, right? So we need to multiply by n plus 3 over here on the bottom and on the top, like that. Okay, so now let's simplify what we have here. So first of all, let's write this fraction down. So it's going to be equal to -3n minus 9 over n plus 3 n minus 2. And then again, we're going to add that to this one over here. Okay, so here we have n plus 3 times n plus 3. So we have to FOIL this, right? So we're going to go first, which would be n squared. Then we're going to go outer, so that's going to be plus 3n. And then we're going to go inner, so 3 times n, so that's plus another 3n. And then we're going to go last, so 3 times 3, that's equal to 9. Okay, and then again, this is over our denominator right here, n minus 2, n plus 3, right? Or we can flip that to n plus 3, n minus 2, either way. Okay, but the really mathematical part about this is we now have the same denominator, right? So now we can just basically add straight across the numerators, right? So let's keep simplifying this. So over here, we're going to have -3n minus 9, and then we're adding this whole thing on top, right? So plus n squared plus 3n plus 3n plus 9, okay? And then that's going to go over, again, our denominator, which is just n plus 3, n minus 2. All right, now we're going to be able to simplify the numerator, right, because we can combine like terms on a bunch of these things, and we're going to be able to cancel out a ton of crap right now. So let's do that. All right, so first of all, up here we have an n squared. So let's write that first, n squared. And then let's take care of our n's. So here I have a -3n, and here I have a +3n, so those are going to cancel out. But I still have this plus 3n right there, right? So we'll put that there, plus 3n. And then we have a -9 and a +9, so those cancel out. So there's nothing left, right? We got rid of everything. And that's going to be over our denominator right here, n plus 3 times n minus 2. Boom, I love it when that shiz happens. All right, now the top, as you can see, we can still simplify the top some more. We can factor it, right? So we can factor out an n from the top right there. So let's do that really quick. So we can factor out an n, and then in parentheses, we're just going to be left with n plus 3. All right, and then in the denominator right here, right, still got the same thing, n plus 3, n minus 2. All right, now some things are going to kill each other, this n plus 3 and n plus 3, all right? So that's amazing. And then all we're left with is this n on top and this n minus 2 on the bottom. Boom, son or daughter. That's your final answer. So if you found the video helpful, definitely leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any other questions or want to see any other examples, just let me know in the comment section below. Also, there's a couple playlists attached that I think you'll find helpful, so definitely check those out, and I'll see you there.